Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. Luffy was abandoned by his father Dragon at a very young age, and was mostly raised by his grandfather Garp, and even a little bit by Shanks, who spent time with him before Luffy went out to sea in search of achieving his own goal. For a long time, many people in the community thought that Dragon had abandoned Luffy to become the leader of the Revolutionary Army, but largely the reason still remains completely unknown, and it's even more so with the very few interactions that Luffy has had with Dragon, and even then he never really sees him, and it's only happened a handful of times throughout our entire story. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the possible reasons why Dragon may have abandoned Luffy with his grandfather, what possibly motivated Dragon to abandon his family and follow his dreams, and what this abandonment provided in Luffy's life. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel, or even if you've watched a bunch of our videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like, and even subscribe, and maybe leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out, especially with that old YouTube algorithm, and it keeps motivating us to make more content. And if you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, consider sharing this video or another one of your favorites with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So my friends, we have followed the very long journey of our favorite young rubber pirate from the beginning of his venture in search of being able to find the most acclaimed treasure in the world, the one called the One Piece. And this is so he can become ultimately the king of the pirates. Luffy was born in Fuchsia Village and is the son of Monkey D. Dragon. Now his mother is still unknown, and there are really no clues to find out who she might actually be. But Dragon, instead of raising his son, decided to leave him in the care of his grandfather, Monkey D. Garp. Now we don't know exactly when or how old Luffy was when Dragon abandoned, but it's likely that he left him with Garp since he was a very small baby, allowing Luffy to really have no memory of his father Dragon. Although that might seem a bit cold and callous, we have to remember at that moment in history, Dragon was wanted worldwide for being the leader of the revolutionaries, which that alone could be the reason why Dragon decided to leave his son in the hands of his father, hoping that while he was away from him, his son would be safer because of the great fame that Dragon already had for being the leader of the largest organization that opposed the world government. If the world government had ever found out that Dragon had a son, the same situation that happened to Roger and Ace could have happened to Luffy. That small child would have been hunted from a very young age just because of who his father was. It was at least partially for this reason that Dragon hid his parentage and avoided even saying that Garp was his father, because this would make people create a connection and finally maybe realize that Luffy could actually be the offspring of Dragon. But with Luffy being in Garp's hands, it's not like he was completely safe. Garp, after all, did many dangerous things to him in an attempt to make him stronger, such as throwing him into a deep ravine and even leaving him alone in the jungle and tying him to a balloon. When Luffy was at the tender age of 6 years old, Shanks and the rest of the red-haired pirates stationed themselves in Fuchsia Village. And while they were there, their sniper Yasopp often told Luffy that he had a son his age named Usopp. Luffy wanted to join the red-haired pirates, and after they'd been in the village for almost a year, he stabbed himself under his left eye to prove just how strong he was, and that he was strong enough to become a pirate. So next, Luffy and the red-haired pirates went to Party's bar, where Luffy continued to badger Shanks with no positive result. But in that same moment, he also found the Gomu Gomu no Mi in a chest and ate it without really knowing what it was. After some events that led Luffy to be captured by the mountain bandits being commanded by Higuma, this forced the red-haired pirates to have to come and intervene. In one of the most iconic scenes and real origins of Luffy's story, we saw that Shanks lost his arm to a Sea King just to save Luffy. And a while after that, Shanks and his crew went back out to sea in search of achieving their own dreams. However, before that, Shanks gave little Luffy his straw hat. This hat marked a great promise between them, and since then, Luffy began to strive to become a much better and stronger pirate, reaching ever towards the title of King of the Pirates. And later, Garp left Luffy together with Ace and Sabo, where they formed a brotherhood. And after a few years, Luffy went in search of his own goals out at sea. From that moment on, we have followed Luffy's story in search of becoming the King of the Pirates. And all of this happened due to the simple fact that Dragon had not been by his son's side since his birth. Although Dragon currently seems to care quite a bit for Luffy, he was never a present father in Luffy's life. And this caused Luffy to be influenced by pirates and their grandiose dreams. So during his childhood, Luffy had multiple interactions, not only with Shanks, but also when he met Ace and Sabo. And this fostered that great dream of becoming pirates. When the former Pirate King Goldie Roger lost his life, this catalyzed Luffy's pursuit of his dream to become the King of the Pirates. All of this happened just because of the lack of the presence of a father, or any other guardian for that matter. Because as we know, Garp wasn't exactly the best example of authority. He always acted in a loving but quite severe way, and was mostly absent in much of the life of the young Luffy. Now when it comes to Dragon, we practically know nothing about his life, or the reasons why he may have been motivated to abandon his son Luffy. So far, what we know is that he was born in the kingdom kingdom of Goa 53 years before the start of our story, and that 24 years ago, Dragon himself witnessed Roger's execution. At some point of his life, Dragon did decide to create an organization called the Freedom Fighters. Now, we don't exactly know what the purpose of this organization was, or if they were even powerful, but this caused Dragon to distance himself from his father Garp. Obviously, the Navy hero wanted his son to grow up and be a Marine just like him, fighting alongside him and even allowing Dragon to live a life where he could have a family without the worry of being wanted worldwide. However, Dragon's conviction at that moment was just too strong, and it prevented him from abandoning his goals just to please his father or anyone else close to him. Years after becoming a wanted criminal worldwide, Dragon decided to reformulate his organization. Dragon decided to make the Freedom Fighters become a group with a new ideology and way of acting. And from that moment on, Dragon began to recruit more people for this organization, such as the scientist Vegapunk. But the great scientist refused this invitation because of the lack of resources, and it just wouldn't allow him to be really able to build anything. But even so, Dragon and Vegapunk started to share information between themselves, trying to find ways to be able to overthrow the world government in a definitive way, each finding their own way to undermine the authority of that world power. 22 years ago, a few months after the O'Hara incident, Dragon visited the ruined island to pay his respect to the victims of the massacre, and there he talked to Vegapunk, who was there for the exact same reason. He promised to create an army that could really fight back and prevent disasters like O'Hara's from ever happening again. In that very same year, Dragon, Emporio Ivankov, and Bartholomew Kuma founded the Revolutionary Army, a group which would free people from the world government's actions and bring about the end of the entire organization. As time passed, Dragon's ideals slowly spread across the world like a burning wildfire, and one by one, countries slowly began to support it, albeit sometimes through conflict, causing many countries to fall. But eventually, Dragon would be considered the worst and most hated criminal in the world. 17 years before the beginning of our story, Dragon and an unknown woman had a child. Now, we don't know exactly what Dragon's relationship was with this unknown woman, or even what might have happened to her, but everything indicates that Luffy's mother must have lost her life, or at least disappeared in an unknown way, which could be the reason why Dragon became so obstinate in trying to overthrow the world government. So as we can see, Dragon truly wanted to abandon everything to achieve his goal of changing the world, and possibly even avenge his wife. Throughout the One Piece community, there have been many different thoughts about who this mysterious woman could have been. Was she a world noble? Was she a Marine? Was she a revolutionary? But however Dragon was involved with Luffy's mother, it still remains a mystery to this day. It is entirely possible that there was some event that involved Luffy's mother and the Celestial Dragons, and this may have caused Dragon to create this great hatred for them, and motivating him to find multiple ways to bring down the world government and especially destroy the Gorosei. So from that moment on, Dragon had left his son with Garp to set out to the seas and focus on just completing his immense goal, not necessarily caring about the consequences that he could have in the future for abandoning his son. Now, since Luffy ended up following his own dream to become a pirate, Dragon has followed his progress from afar, only intervening to keep his son alive and safe. So despite not being physically present in Luffy's life, we can see that Dragon still cares quite a bit about it and has always been proud of his accomplishments and even wanting his son to achieve his great goal. So as we head into this final saga of One Piece, although we don't know when they'll ever meet again, we have to know that this is gonna be an eventual reunion, and it's possible that the whole truth will come out at that point, revealing much more about Dragon's past and what may have happened to Luffy's mother, and ultimately how it's connected to the world government and why it catalyzed the Great Revolutionary Army. So with all that said, my friends, we'd now love to know what you think about it. What's your take on why Dragon may have left Luffy in Garp's care? Was it because he had much bigger plans, or do you think he might have known a little something about the past that is gonna be revealed in the future of our story? Next, who do you think Luffy's mother was? Now, we've seen multiple statements from Oda regarding the fact that we may never find out anything about Luffy's mother, that it's ultimately about his journey to becoming the king of the pirates, and his interactions with Dragon are just part of the narrative. But why do you think she was taken out of the picture? Was it about the world government? Was she a celestial dragon? Or something else? And finally, when do you think we might get to see this amazing reunion? And how do you think it's gonna go down? Is it gonna be Luffy and Dragon hugging it out like father and son, reuniting after dozens of years? Or might it be more contentious, or hey, what's up? What do you think is gonna happen when they finally do cross paths? Let us know what you think in the comments below. So as we wrap up our video for the day, we'd like to thank you all so much for watching the video, especially those of you who've made it here to the very end. Be sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like and hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. Hope to see you all in our next video. Let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.